Welcome everybody. I'm Christina Wolf here, and this is another weekly card reading and energy update, and it is Sunday, November 4th, 2018. I am going to wait a few minutes here to see if anybody pops on. I'm going to invite a few people. Hope everybody is well, and last week I wasn't here because I needed a rest, and this week I'm still feeling a little bit like I need a rest, but welcome if you're just coming on, say hi. This week is going to have a very profound shift where Jupiter in Scorpio shifts over to Jupiter Sagittarius, and that's going to be, for me, one of the most profound shifts ever. And then let me look at some of the other planetary movements here, and we'll talk a little bit into that. I'm going to see if a few other people pop on. Say hi if you're coming on. Let me see if check the messages. Hello, Bethany. Hi. Hi, Rebecca. Ooh, you're feeling some very high energy. Yeah. Okay, so a lot of that, okay, right now the sun's in Scorpio. Anything you're feeling really passionate about, very intense. Hey, Kimberly, welcome. And that can also mean, like, think of the passion of the Christ. You know, the passion, like things that you long suffered over, that like you're feeling very intensely over. I talked a bit about in my Facebook Live earlier this week. Maybe a feeling of grief or sadness, things that you're releasing, letting go of. Scorpio is not exactly an airy fairy sign, so if you want the bold truth, the blunt truth, like it's about possession, domination. This is that sort of coming together, clashing of masculine, feminine, where you know the women now and the Me Too women are like, no, I don't want to be dominated, and the masculine is like, I just am not accepting that this isn't the way things are going to be anymore. And so you may feel that in some of your relationships, or you may be seeing it played out on the world stage. Before we go any further, I wanted to light some Palo Santo, because I've been called to use that quite a bit lately. Holy wood. Maybe because the Day of the Dead or whatnot, but for some reason I'm calling to use this instead of sage lately, because the sage, when I was lighting it, it just wasn't staying lit. So the moon right now is in Libra, all about balance, relationships, partnership. And so again, that's Scorpio, sun in Scorpio. There's a little bit of clashing going on. And it seems like, oh, thank you, Kimberly. Yeah. I'm happy to be back. Sometimes when I don't do it, I feel like kind of like I called in sick to work and I missed all the fun. You know, you're like, I missed it. What happened? I'm out of the loop. So energetically speaking, we're back in the loop. Okay, so here's some Palo Santo. I love Palo Santo. And just before I continue with the energy update, I learned something very interesting about Palo Santo. One of my mentors, Olga, likes to grind it with one of these things. It's kind of like a wood chipper. It looks kind of scary. And when you do it, you should do it in intense prayer and, you know, just quiet and peaceful. But while you're grinding it, it's a bit of an arduous thing to do, but it creates kind of like a fine grain, like wood chippings, and it makes Palo Santo easier to burn. But if you want to burn it with just the wood stick, yesterday I was lighting it, and then the person I was having a session with was like, you know, I heard from people that I worked with in Brazil that they prefer Palo Santo prefers to be lit with a candle. So it's something you can light over and over again. And so that's what I'm trying right now. So Palo Santo is also very good for protection, for purification. It's called holy wood. And you want it to have like a nice little ember going. If it gets too much like a coal, it won't smoke. But really, it's all about your intention. Like, what do you want to do with it? What are your thoughts? And so we're asking Palo Santo here to cleanse us of any, what I call negative energy, entity attachments. Entity attachments, by the way, that's probably a whole other conversation. I find them fascinating. Entity attachments can be anything from old trauma. They can be spirits. A full-blown entity attachment is people think of demon possession, which is actually extremely rare, but it's real. Palo Santo, you ask for to be cleansed of any negative energy, any entity attachments, any negative thought processes. And the process of smudging ultimately is so that you can bring in clean energy to sacred space, right? So before we go further, and before I tell you any further on the energy update, I want to just sort of like kind of cleanse us and cleanse myself, and because I had an extremely intense conversation with my partner over this Me Too movement, and what I'm going to talk about with Jupiter moving from Scorpio to Sagittarius, which is coming up November 7th. We had a very rowdy conversation about it. So, which is good because he's very much a very alpha kind of guy, and I'm an alpha female, and at the same time, these are the conversations we should be having as a nation, as a world, as what it means for the patriarchy. And I sometimes think people misunderstand what patriarchy means. Patriarchy is kind of like the idea of dominion of the toxic masculine, and it doesn't mean like dislike for men at all. I love men. I have 3 sons. I have 3 brothers. Beautiful partner. We're moving into sacred partnership. And so at first when people were talking to me about like the patriarchy, I would get a little turned off because I do work in a very masculine culture, you know, in law enforcement, and it, you know, and my oldest son and I have big discussions about the patriarchy and toxic femininity or feminism and what it means to be a young man growing up in our culture. And I really think the men need a lot of our support to help transition through the new paradigm, because it's difficult for men too. They don't know which end is up either. And there are a lot of really good men out there. So let's think on that process. And this is just like really heavy in the forefront of my mind as Jupiter transitions from Scorpio to Sagittarius, November 7th. So, smudging you, smudging me, and then we're going to call in the 4 directions. And when you're doing anything with like an open flame, you can always set your intention to smudge your feet by just maybe tapping your feet with your hand or a feather if you have a fan, instead of being unsafe. The other thing, move the smudge around you clockwise. That's a Native American trait. It's because in sacred circles and like sweat lodges, the energy goes clockwise and it keeps the energy flowing in the right direction. To disrupt that is considered disrespectful. So here I am smudging everybody. All right, let's call them to the winds of the east. We welcome you in. This is the place of the rising sun, fire energy, spirit of eagle, condor. We welcome you in to show us the bird's eye view. This is the place where it's the void, place from which we all come, the place to which we all return. Spirit of Raven always brings messages from the void to us. This is our intuitive knowing. This is the place where thoughts become things. We welcome you in. We welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you. To the winds of the south. This is earth energy. Place of all the furry earth creatures, like spirit of wolf, spirit of snake. We welcome you in. This is a place of being in the noontime of our life. This is our youth. This is being in full bloom. Thank you, Brother Snake, for showing us how to shed old skin and to walk humbly close to Mother Earth. We thank you, thank you, thank you. Now we call in the winds of the west, water element, place of the setting sun, place of releasing, place of the fall of our life. This is where we harvest all of the lessons of our rites of passage. We thank you, spirit of jaguar, spirit of whale, dolphin, the mystical water creatures like mermaid. We thank you, thank you, thank you for showing us how to be adults in our lives, how to reap the lessons and sow the lessons of, or reap the lessons that we've sown in our lives, and to help us to understand our shadow self. So we thank you, thank you, thank you. And now to the winds of the north. This is air element, winter of our lifetimes, place of our ancestors, the place of inner knowing, going within. Think of hibernating. Think of like what the bear do in the winter? What do animals do in the winter? They go within and they preserve themselves, and they rest. This is a place of rest, and to be held in the cradle of our ancestors and their wisdom and inner knowing. And we thank the ancient ones, spirit of buffalo, elk, caribou, and the lightness of being, spirit of hummingbird, beautiful nectar of life. We thank Mother Earth for always holding us safely in her womb, for giving us all of our needs, for hosting us on this beautiful earth. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Pachamama, for all of the resources that we need to live. All the plants, the animals, the two-legged, the four-legged, the fin, the fur, the winged ones, all the creepy crawlies. We thank you, Father Sky, for the planetary movements, for the mysteries of the universe, for the black matter, the black holes, for the quantum leaps of consciousness. We thank you so much for the star nations and being our one true creator, the Sophia, the Pistis Sophia of the universe, the ancient mystery of all that is. Grandmother Moon, Grandfather Sun, we thank you for the cycles of life. Grandmother Moon, in your womb wisdom, thank you for us, showing us ladies and the men who are in tune to it, the mysteries of creation, of our womb wisdom. And Grandfather Sun, we thank you for always giving us life and shining your light upon us every day, whether we can see you or not. I would personally like to thank Spirit of Wolf for being my totem, for always guiding me and teaching me and allowing me to come back and teach the pack what I know and learn. And I would like to thank my other spirit helpers. Mary Magdalene, your energy has been very prominent. Mother Mary, over this last week with my children, I thank you for all of your assistance, as always. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, let me know how you guys have been now that we've opened up Sacred Space and I feel a lot better, and what has been coming up for you guys. It seems like we keep having really intense times, and so again, a lot of that has to do with, I keep talking about this shift from Scorpio in I'm sorry, Jupiter in Scorpio to Jupiter shifting to Sagittarius. And why is that significant? Well, last October is when Jupiter shifted into Scorpio. And last October is when we started getting a lot of the Me Too movement stuff. A lot of that anger of the divine feminine, the repressed feminine, and the patriarchy. And feeling a need to speak our personal truth. And it's been a lot of stuff coming up with like the political realm of, especially here in the United States, a lot of strife, the Republican, the Democrats, all that, anti-Trump, the white nationalists. A lot of that energy there is that Mars and Uranus coming together, mixing with this Scorpio, Jupiter and Scorpio. And when Mars and Uranus, which Uranus is all about like radical transformation. It's sort of like the wild card of the universe. Like, oh, I didn't see that coming. And then Mars being the god of war, it's basically representative of masculine, the toxic masculine right now, kind of getting a rude awakening. And what is Scorpio? Scorpio is ruled by, you know, the underworld. It's the deep, dark secrets. It's our deep passions. It has to do with hidden things and sexuality and trauma, basically. And so a lot of people's hidden trauma, their deep, passionate anger about the injustices of the divine feminine have come out. And that's why it was just energetically appropriate, or like perfect breeding ground for the Me Too movement. And it started October of last year. And we've had a very difficult conversation over the last year about this topic in our culture. The Kavanaugh hearings, and it's not that, and by some people's standards, they may feel like, well, we're not really getting anywhere. We're just, you know, getting angry. But look at Harvey Weinstein. That's what started this whole Me Too movement. Harvey Weinstein. And I bring up these things in real life to show how what's going on, the cosmology of the universe, as above, so below, etc. So the things that are going on within us are going on without us. Okay? You could use that in many ways, actually. And so when we have extremely difficult things that happen, it may feel like in alchemy, you know, you're kind of, you know, burned by the fire. And, you know, at first you're thinking of the scars of it all, but at the end of it, it changes you in a way, and it makes you have a different perspective. I feel that our culture requires this pain as medicine to shift us into a new place where, when we see how it really is, when the veil is removed and we see how it really is, and it's really painful and difficult to swallow, then can, out of that space, do we start desiring something different. And it's this shift of, okay, we've been through some really hard times and really something different. The shift to Sagittarius is where the new comes in. The expanding on the truth of what we know. And now that we know what we know, Jupiter in Sagittarius it's in its home sign. It's happy there. It feels content. But it also, while it's content because it's in a state of expansion, not contraction. And so you will feel some profound shifts going on, like just a break from the intensity. coming up, I mean, we're going to have a lot, I'll probably have a lot more to say about like the year 2019, and 2020 is going to be a big one. Let me explain also, there's a really awesome book that someone else brought to my attention. It used to be called The Liquid Light of Love by Barbara Clow. I think it's, let me get you the last name here, because it's 3 names. Barbara Hand Clow, C-L-O-W. And now it's an old classic, and it talks all about what I was referring to, the Saturn return, and the transforming power of Saturn, Chiron, and Uranus. And in May of this year, Uranus shifted into Taurus. Taurus is all about our foundations, our home, the things that bring us comfort, right? And it was that upsetter when Uranus, the great upsetter, comes in and interferes in all the things that feel like our sense of security, who we are, our identity, our feelings of comfort. It can be akin to a midlife crisis, and that's where this Saturn return comes in. Those of us who are probably in our 40s, that's when the midlife crisis starts, and that's what the Saturn return is about. You want to Google the Saturn return. It's fascinating, and it's been proven that most people who were born at a certain time, when they have a Saturn return in their life, for me, Saturn first showed up in my natal chart in 1990, and so those of us who were born late 70s probably are feeling a big midlife crisis. And I can tell you, last year I had a big midlife crisis. I quit my job, I got thyroid issues, I lost my house, all kinds of shit. That's the Saturn return, and it's akin to what they call a spiritual emergency. If you look back on some of the work that I was talking about, walk your inner talk, make the big leap, feeling this huge calling of spirit, that's the Saturn return. That's the yearning you're having to really let go of all masks, let go of things that don't serve you. You kind of have this, oh shit, I need to be what I was always meant to be, but my life's passing me by. It's that spiritual crisis. And you might think, oh, I'm going crazy right now. And it's feelings of intense anxiety. So at first, if you're not sure what's going on, you're like, oh my God, I'm dying, or like everything's just turned upside down. My health is crazy, etc. I'll put this link in the comments all about that. If you're feeling anything about, midlife crisis or the Saturn return, I'm going to put the link for Barbara Hand Clow in here. The classic title was The Liquid Light of Love, but she's changed it to Astrology and the Rising of Kundalini, which neither title really explains what she's talking about. So I wanted y'all to know there's that energy rotating under, like big, huge undercurrents, like the undercurrent operating system that we're all on right now. But this shift from Jupiter into Sagittarius is going to bring us some immediate relief. So let me see. Kimberly says, I'll be honest, I've been having a very hard time finding my thoughts and voice this week. Yeah. Something as simple as someone asking, how are you? My answer is simply, just good. It's almost like my voice is paralyzed. I'll be doing some cleansing and self-Reiki after this reading. Any insight is always helpful. Yes, when you have these big undercurrents of energy, it's very necessary to get rid of any superfluous stuff in your life and really work at getting quiet, cleansing, doing some extra meditating, grounding exercises to really get a feel, because it's it's sort of like when it's not snowing outside, you don't need to worry about how clear your driveway is. But when it's snowing and there's a big storm and there's heavy energy, you have to continuously go out and shovel the driveway to keep it clear. It's that same analogy. Like when there's a lot of intense energy, it will get you in this habit of needing to do daily practices, maybe like more than once a day, simple check-in, grounding practices, that sort of thing. You know, I've said before, clear, clear, and clear again. So let me put that link to Barbara Hand Clow in here. Or at least the title of it. If you look up the Liquid Light of Love, it will bring you to a newer version. Anybody else want to share how their week has gone while I'm typing this in? And I'll put the newest title in there, Astrology. Although, like I said, that either one doesn't really explain to me. I don't think they're very good titles. They don't really explain what it's talking about. But the Kundalini energy is that pressure, is that like anxiety. Unharnessed Kundalini, or a type of life force, not just chi or prana, the basic life force going through you, but it's very distinct. And I don't know enough about it to really say much, but I'm learning myself. It's often seen as two snakes, and it wraps around all the chakras and comes up to your crown chakra. So I was told to look into this because of my migraines. And if you're having intense physical ailments, look into balancing out Kundalini. So let me see if I have any other comments here. Yeah, Rebecca says, I'm still feeling all of that. Yep. So don't fear, November 7th, it's going to shift into, Jupiter's going to shift into Sagittarius, which will bring us some relief. It will bring us a feeling of hope, optimism, like clear thinking for the future. And so me being a Sagittarius, I'm super excited about this because I'm really looking forward to the break. And then before I go further, let me look and see if there's any other aspects I want to touch on. And then I'm going to do the card reading. Let me know if y'all need a card. I'm going to do the herbal deck, and then the spirit animal oracle, and then the mystical shaman oracle. So let me know. I know that Chris had asked for a card because she can't be present. So I'm going to put her down. Anybody else? Okay. Yes, so the very slower moving planets, Saturn and Capricorn, Uranus and Taurus. Uranus stays in that Taurus for quite a while. It's going to be there till, it says March 9th of 2012 till July 2019. And then it goes back September 20th, 2019 to April 2020. So it's like a 7-year transit. And so some of these over the next, 7 years, or you're in the midst of the 7 years, you may be in the middle of something you may not quite feel you understand what's going on, and that's okay. That's okay. It's kind of like while you're baking a cake, or you're in the chrysalis, or you're reading the middle of a book, you're in the middle chapters, it hasn't come together yet. It's okay to feel a little like you're not fully baked yet. That it's not clear to you what's going to happen or what's going on. So those sort of feelings are normal. So Chiron is in Pisces. Chiron is actually going back to Aries. So Chiron's a unique thing. Chiron is actually an asteroid, but Chiron represents the wounded healer in all of us. Chiron, by Greek mythology, was a healer who could not heal himself. He had like a wound on his thigh, I believe, and it never fully healed itself. And so when Chiron is in Pisces, that's what we've been in. It rotates like every 2 to 8 years. It rotates back and forth from Pisces to Aries, Pisces to Aries. It was in Pisces for the last 8 years, and then it rotated into Aries back in April of this year. Now it sort of retrograded itself back into Pisces, and it's going to move forward again. So during this time, it's retrograde in Pisces. We're feeling all the feels, but when it moves forward into Aries, it's going to give us that sensation of who am I? It's all about identity, and Aries being the beginning of the zodiac, that new feeling of just planting the seeds of who I am and what I need, and which is great because it's coming out of this whole Me Too movement, that Jupiter and Scorpio energy, like all the lessons we learned, we reaped from that. And then, so have no fear. All of our lessons are teaching us something to move into something better. So that's really kind of the whole thing I'm getting out of all of this. So let me know if you guys wanted a card. Yeah, so Rebecca wants Mystical Shaman. And I'm really feeling like the need to ask how everyone's really doing, because we're not in a vacuum, right? We need to take care of each other. And Bethany wants an herbal. Okay, perfect. How many of you feel like kind of disconnected from the other right now? And if not, maybe you're having a really good deep conversations with one or two particular relationships. Let me know what your experiences are, because I can say what mine are, but that doesn't necessarily mean yours are the same. So I'm curious. So I'm going to shuffle. Let's talk about the energy this week. And one other thing I forgot to mention that's absolutely huge. It's no coincidence that it's election day, November 6th. Whatever things appear on the surface, it doesn't matter what something looks like. What really matters is the energy beneath it. So just remember that. So people, in other words, people can put on a good show, but energy doesn't lie. And how that relates to the election, I don't know. We shall see. But I have a funny feeling next week's reading will be a little bit different. I feel like a big, like, catharsis or a release coming up. And I'm reluctant to say something like victory because sacred partnership is about win-win, not one over the other, okay? And that's the main difference. Patriarchy is definitely about dominion over the other. And sacred union, the new paradigm is we all get to win, right? Let me see. What have you guys read? Hello, Penny. Welcome. Yes, very disconnected from a variety of things in life. Kind of feeling a bit floaty. Definitely time to do some grounding and clearing. Yeah. Oh, and one other thing too. If any of you watched my Facebook Live earlier this week, I was talking about the difficulties my son was having in school, and with other kids, not being necessarily nice to him. And that night when I was putting him to sleep, he just was crying and crying and crying. And as a mother, of course, you want to soothe and love on him and make it stop, right? And I just had this feeling like when the grief or the voice wants to be heard, when somebody wants to make it stop, it makes you want to make it louder. And so I just said, relax into it. Not going to let you, I'm not going to make you stop crying. Just cry all you need to. And it was like instantaneous. This young little boy just sort of sighed and went to sleep. And I feel like that's where we're at. If you really feel like a sadness or a grief or a rage, don't try to silence it. Let it out and let it flow, and then it'll be done. It'll stop when it's ready, not when someone's trying to suppress it. So, of course, let it out in healthy ways. My good friend Sama Morningstar has an excellent exercise. And you can Google it anywhere. It's a yogic breathing exercise for overcoming rage and grief. It's called the lion's breath. I don't exactly know anything about it to teach it, but try that. What she showed me in another group was really helpful because I had a lot of rage and grief this week. And what she taught me with the lion's breath was helpful to me. So I pulled a card for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the energy for the week. I think the energy for the week is let that shit out. Do it in a proactive way. Stop suppressing it. We're sort of like the Jupiter and Scorpio's last dying breath of letting out the inner grief, turmoil, whatever. Let it out. And then you can breathe a sigh of relief and move on because you said what you needed to say. You expressed, you emoted what you needed to say. Hey, Penny, welcome. All right. Perfect. The Fool. Ginseng. I think I'm going to need a sip of coffee for this. The Fool is the very first card of the major arcana of the tarot. Again, that Aries energy, that very beginning energy. And let me tell you, it's ruled by Uranus. Can you see that? Ginseng is its herb. Ginseng, if you're not familiar, is a carminative, which means it warms you up. It's generative energy. Okay? The Fool is our most inner self who is limitless, boundless, adventurous, and immortal. He's guided by his heart's path, symbolized by the rose, and by the divine golden light, which he perceives as divine grace pouring down to him. Because of his innocent trust in the divine, the Fool steps forward fearlessly, oblivious of the impending cliff, which will tumble him down through the world of experiences and adventures. This is that sort of new, I can see clearly now after my difficulties, and I'm in a limitless place. So this is definitely good energy to be going into for the shift from Jupiter from Scorpio to Sagittarius. Okay. And many people are feeling hopeful Monday, Tuesday, right? They want something new for this election. They need something new for this election. In his knapsack, he carries those traits and characteristics inherited from his ancestry, previous lives, and cosmic memory. He will use these gifts and powers as needed during his sojourn as an incarnated spirit. Definitely, the Fool is all about harvesting all of our lessons. Uranus, an erratic, revolutionary, and eccentric planet, is the ruler of the Fool. Thus, he may appear to be crazy and outlandish or creative and original. By the way, Uranus being the great disruptor. You can, when you're following your heart's desires, you may look kind of crazy, outlandish, I will tell you some of my, my children didn't understand why I wanted to quit my job. But you're following your heart's desire, and it may look foolish to other people, but if you're following what your heart's desire really is, then you're doing what you need to do. He is free of self-imposed restrictions and is open to change and inspiration. The Fool, being key 0, is above all the other 21 major keys, the arcana, and thus he has freedom of movement. He can appear in our lives when we least expect him. He encourages us to be more detached in the roles that we play and reminds us of our true beingness as children of the Great Spirit. We may have some stuff here in the 3D world, but don't forget that we still are spirits, right? We don't necessarily have to play into what's going on in front of our eyes when the world behind our eyes is the thing that makes us creators, right? That generative space, the energetic space of our thoughts that bring things into when I was saying the only thing that matters is energy, right? So if what's in front of us is already what's been manifested, those are old thoughts. Those are the product of old thoughts. So what really matters is what's going on behind our eye, right? The thoughts that we're having now, because those are the thoughts that are creating our future. He is a visual representative of the Tao, or the void, where thoughts become things, which is nothing and everything. Everything you could have ever wanted, every aspect of life is in the void, okay? He is our true self, joyously playing the script, but never losing contact with the power of life. So this is a really important place to be. It's kind of saying, stay in that thinking where thoughts become things place. Stay in that place where if what's in front of my eye isn't what I really want, I get to create what I really want out of that contrast. It's very kind of Abraham Hicksy, when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want, okay? So stay in that place. Even if, don't let the sadness of what is bother you, because what really matters is what you want and how the thoughts you're having about it, okay? So Bethany says, I have a feeling frustrated trying to get things done even when I focus. Some things are getting accomplished, but the amount of effort seems higher lately. Yes. Relax into it. When we stop being so forceful and we get into allowing, that definitely makes a difference. Okay, so ginseng, the herb of cosmic energy, right? If you want the thoughts that you're feeling and the things that you're thinking to come into play, call on ginseng. Maybe take a pinch of it, or even a ginseng capsule that you have, and you hold it in one of your little medicine bags. Keep it on you. Call upon ginseng and its magical powers to help you bring the thing that you want, that carminative, that generative energy come into play. Ginseng can be a powerful building and tonic herb for all weaknesses and lack of energy. So Bethany, if you're feeling like it's really hard to get things done, ginseng can help you get rid of frustration or block. It strengthens the lungs, nourishes body fluids, and calms the spirit. Ginseng also increases wisdom, promotes longevity, and builds resistance to disease. There are many ginseng, with North American ginseng being milder and safer for general use. So, ginseng herbal essence may be taken as often as needed when the energy of the Fool is being invoked. All right. I was saying, carry a piece of the ginseng and allow the energies of innocence, adventure, and divine guidance to fill you. So, keywords: needing or feeling boundless energy, following one's path with faith, having an innocent trust in inner guidance, childlike enthusiasm, being foolish, living in the moment, willing to take chances, needing to find personal support within. I feel the boundless divine energy flowing through me. I enthusiastically walk my path in life. All right, that's a good start for Monday, Tuesday. Many of us are going to be very hopeful for the future. One thing about burning Palo Santo, it does really feel like you're been at a campfire and your voice gets kind of raspy. Wednesday, Thursday. We had this last week, turmeric. Turmeric's been showing up quite a bit. 5 of Wands. All right. The 5 of Wands is one of those where every time I see it, and I think I was talking about this with somebody here, this very card, all the things you worried about, all the conflict you were having, it was kind of like everything resolved itself. So this is a good sign for Wednesday, Thursday. All the stuff we thought we were arguing about, some people may never be happy with the outcome of things, but I think overall people will be happy with things that they were worried about are not going to come to pass. Okay, so turmeric. Turmeric is all about anti-inflammatory. I take it for, it's really good for your joints. What are joints? Joints are the things that help you move, and they're also the things that connect your bones, which are the structure. So it's all about relieving the inflammation of things that support you for stronger support, right? Turmeric is also excellent for autoimmune disorder inflammation, like lupus, hypothyroidism, those sort of things. So if you're feeling attacked from within, like negative thoughts, it helps calm sort of that negative self-talk or inner toxic resentment. So here we have 5 Wands, representing differences of race and political alliance. It's like resolves conflict, basically. Okay, brandishing their staffs in a contentious manner. The card represents strife, prejudice, conflict, opposition, and disagreement. Sounds like our current political and cultural environment. Such conflict and rivalries can drain our energies and divert us from more fruitful pursuits and endeavors. Even wars are not possible when our thoughts and efforts are fruitfully preoccupied with building strength from within. I really love that. It's like if the people and the people who represent us in Congress and whatever, and I'm saying all this as like concrete examples, not to, portray any particular political affiliation or anything like that, but as an example, if we choose people who want to work together and, like it says, building strength from within, those people who represent us will be the ones to help us resolve these conflicts. So even when wars are not possible, when our thoughts and efforts are fruitfully preoccupied with building strength from within, therefore, to feel threatened is to betray an inner weakness that is better examined before we react. So I love that. It's like basically saying anytime we want to lash out at the other, it has to do with us feeling insecure within. And so it's time to work on that insecurity within instead of lashing out to others. When we work on that, creating peace within, we create peace without. So let us not forget that when open conflict seems the only choice, it represents in some way a personal failure in dealing with our own shortcomings, as well as an inability to communicate that which we feel to be vital to our survival and well-being. When I was talking about suppressing, when we don't come out and say, this makes me feel very insecure and I don't like it, instead of articulating that and saying that and maybe coming to another solution, then it turns into fighting, and it turns into physical altercations, and it turns into fearful policies and that sort of thing. So communication is really important. It is always worth considering the innate weakness and vulnerability that has led us to such confrontations, and whether strengthening those areas of weaknesses might not be of greater value. I could go off, this is a conversation for a whole other podcast, whatever, but I think about, Trump and his white nationalism, and they talk about, to me, that, when I think about that, I think about ancestral trauma. And Dr. Daniel Four, with his ancestral medicine book, talks about how many white people who came to America still feel the ancestral trauma of the colonization of the Roman Empire. Okay, the Romans came and decimated all the indigenous tribes of Europe. And they took with that, the European folks who came to America to colonize America, they took with that trauma, that feeling of domination. And then they take it here to America where we dominate the natives. And it's the same perpetuation of it. If we don't stop perpetuating that sort of energy and we don't heal the trauma, what this is saying is the conflict is coming from that insecurity, that lack of identity with self, that lack of healing or knowing or speaking your truth. And so in a nutshell, we've got to heal ourselves at the very soul level to stop having conflict outside of us. And that includes us on a personal level, starting at a personal level, to then be healed at a national level or the collective worldwide. Okay, so that's a really deep conversation. We could talk about that for hours, but and some people aren't necessarily prepared to have that conversation. So but again, it is always worth considering the innate weakness and vulnerability that has led us to such confrontations, and whether strengthening those areas of weaknesses might not be of greater value. By doing so, we might have the best chance of averting further loss and decimation of reserves that is attendant to all conflicts. So, when one feels a lack of strength and spiritual power, this herb will fortify and create an inner stirring of strength. For those whose energy is aggressive and argumentative, it will clear this energy and create the space for a new and healthier viewpoint to grow, which I really think anytime you're getting divisive energy, a feeling of I need to beat out the other because I'm feeling threatened, look again and examine that you're the source of those feelings. Your reaction is the source of those feelings, right? So I have to keep remembering that myself. Stay open-hearted. Being open-hearted is the answer to resolution, right? So the keywords is opposition, strife, suppression, disagreement, conflict. Need to look inward for the conflict that is manifested as an outward occurrence. Anger is the measure of fear. Love is the measure of faith. Sit with that for a minute. Anger is the measure of fear. Love is the measure of faith. Have faith, my dear ones. All right. So considering that's the day after election, keep that in mind. Say that to yourself over and over. Anger is the measure of fear. Anger is the measure of fear. Love is the measure of faith. I'll be doing that. Whatever happens, okay? So, and by the way, that's Wednesday is when Scorpio or Jupiter shifts from Scorpio to Sagittarius. So, whatever truth you come to, whatever is your truth, that's what you're going to expand upon. So let it be a truth of faith, right? The lotus has been showing up for me quite a bit this week, especially with womb wisdom. Lotus pose is a really excellent pose to get into to open up the womb chakra. Ace of Cups, okay? I love that for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We have the Dove of Peace on here. Ace of Cups is usually a very auspicious card where you feel like your cup is overflowing. And the lotus being a symbol of kind of beauty in mud, you know, out of mud. A chalice overflowing with divine love offered from the hand of the Great Spirit is greeted by the Dove of Peace. The lotus, symbol of divine love, inner peace, and enlightenment, blooms upon the peaceful sea of the mind. Listening to and following the heart's wisdom is the focal point of the Ace of Cups. When we listen to our heart song, we can now know our true hopes and desires. So something's coming to me too. If you're like, oh my God, I'm just feeling so angry about a lot of stuff. If that is your true, authentic feeling, let it out. Don't suppress it. Don't say, oh, I shouldn't be thinking this or feeling this. Let it out, because then you can say, okay, well, my anger is directly related to my fear of blah, blah, blah. And when you acknowledge that fear and you get to that place where you go, it's okay. It's going to be okay. Like when you stop suppressing it and you let it out, it becomes your true heart's song, basically. You can know our true hopes and desires. So out of that insecurity, that fear is, I really wish for peace, love, harmony, whatever it is, okay? The heart is the middle path between our thoughts and our unconscious demands. Like I was saying, stay open-hearted. It knows without having to figure it all out. When we move to the heart's path, we find deeper inner peace and divine grace bestowed upon us. Devotion, faith, and dedication to spirit are all manifested in us when the path of love is acknowledged in our lives. One more thing. Even if, like, what you think you wanted doesn't happen, like I'm using the election as an example. Maybe certain people in your state Senate race win that you didn't want to win. Don't take that as an outward sign that isn't going to happen. The occurrences out here in this world are helping you recognize the desires that you have in a less fearful way, okay? So this is asking you to be less fearful, be from a place of devotion and faith. Maybe have faith that things that are happening are helping other people to form more open-hearted desires themselves, okay? The lotus symbolizes purity and peace. It is revered not only for its intrinsic beauty, but for the evocative symbolism of its growth. The lotus grows in shallow ponds and lakes, its roots extending into the mud where, in the darkness and murkiness, it's nurtured by the earth. As it reaches for the light above, it emerges and blossoms into a glorious exaltation of life. The lotus helps us to embrace our own true inner self with a loving respect. Greater serenity and peace fills us as we move into lotus flower consciousness. There's definitely a need to create inner serenity. You're the source of your serenity, not what's going on out here, okay? With pure devotion, I open myself to the wisdom of my heart. And when you stay open-hearted, that wisdom comes to you more freely. So, keywords: following the heart, faith and hope that the light will be revealed, need to calm the thoughts, feeling one's deep connections to Mother Earth and Father Sky, devotion, visions of aspiration. These are devotion to Mother Earth, that connection to Earth, like the lotus, you know, you get your source and your nourishment from being connected to the Earth. Go out, take your nature walks. Don't watch the news. Go watch the forest. That will give you that inner sense of serenity and peace that's separate from whatever's going on out here, okay? If you have 20 minutes to scroll on Facebook, you've got 20 minutes to sit in your backyard and watch the bees buzzing around, right? So, this is wonderful. Energy for the week, the sun. Angelica. Angelica is one of my favorite herbs for protection from angels. So I feel like this is a great reading for this week. Like, have no fear. God is here. Faith is here. What you want is here. I don't think I've ever drawn the sun since I've been doing card readings. So I can see clearly now the rain is gone. The sun is coming out. So, hey Krista, welcome. It's just these comments are coming up kind of slow. Or I'm just like seeing them. Okay. Let me get to this. So I feel like it's a really good sign that the sun is the overall energy of the week. Okay. The sun's hands reach out in a gesture of universal blessing. The Ankh represents eternal life. eternal light. The sun energy loves and illumines all things equally without judgment. The great solar disk in the sky is a benevolent being, bringing warmth, love, clarity, and creativity to the worlds that it touches. Now remember, this is the energy we're having for the overall week. So if you stay in this sun energy of wanting to bless, universal blessing, this is what you're creating in the world behind your eye, right? The same solar energy flows within us. Our inner sun asks us to be joyful, light of heart, open-hearted, energized, caring, compassionate, and illuminated. Another thing, I think it's asking us, when we've been in this really intense, crazy energy the last several weeks, months, whatever, this is time to now focus. It may feel like stopping horses in midstream, but focus on fun and things that bring you joy in a very simple way. Like I said, sit in your backyard and watch the bees buzzing around. When you're very serious-minded or intense feeling, the thing that can break things up, go watch a funny movie. Watch something really stupid like a Jim Carrey movie. It's that kind of interruption the sun's asking you to do. The same solar energy flows within us. Our inner sun asks us to be joyful, light of heart, energized, caring, compassionate, and illuminated. We're now awakened, and as responsible beings, we're ready to bring form and clarity to the dreams of the moon. The sun represents the full flowering of the south. Winds of the south, being in full bloom, right? He asks us to live in the present moment and to experience the wonders inherent in the simplest things we do. It's time to regenerate the self and to follow the heart's path. So when you're regenerating the self, you have that regenerative energy at the beginning of the Fool, right? When you get a chance to create, be, do, or have anything, choose open-heartedness, right? Angelica is said to be the herb of angels and is to enable one to commune with the angelic realm. It has been used to bring good energy and fortune into one's life. Pray to your angels this week. Archangel Michael, I have him around quite a bit. One can partake in the energy of Angelica in many ways. As a ritual bath, it can strengthen the aura and bring joy to one's essence. You can grind up Angelica in a little, let me see, I'll show you, I got some. So here's some Angelica root. It's not that, I don't know if you can, it's kind of hard to see clear, but you grind it up in one of these little things. You can even just burn it as is in a, a fire safe dish, something like your abalone shell or a little clear bowl like this at the dollar store. Super easy. Put it in there, burn it up, and you can start smudging with that, like I did the Palo Santo or the traditional white sage. You want to maybe do a ceremony for the week to help yourself just clear out and be in contact with the angelic realm. So, I'm making you giggle. Oh, good. I'm making you giggle because I've been kind of feisty this week. So, yes, I think it's coming out in a better way. So, when it's saying as a ritual bath, I don't think it's literally meaning take a bath in water. It's saying, smudge yourself with it, like an energetic bath. And I love using Angelica. I will blend it with white sage and other things. So as a ritual bath, it can strengthen the aura and bring joy to one's essence. When burned as an incense or smudge, it gives off a pungent aroma that will help protect and purify the area. Like I said, it's one of my favorite smudges. It helps open the heart energy, keep you open-hearted, and allows one to traverse the heart's path with more peace and clarity. Wearing Angelica as an amulet will remind the wearer of the lessons of the Sun card and will help the wearer to follow the heart's path with faith and certainty. Just a warning though, if you're pregnant, it is a uterine stimulant, which I find very appropriate because womb energy and heart energy are actually very connected. And so the flow of blood from the womb, when we think of womb blood, is like the source of all life, right? So of course it's stimulating the source of all life. Don't use it if you're... I love that. Being responsible for one's creations. You're responsible for your inner world. And your inner world then creates what's going on outside of you, right? Following the heart's path, enjoyment and happiness with life. Have you seen that meme that says you're responsible for the energy you bring into this place? Remember that. When you're responsible for your own energy inside, you can be more responsible for the energy you bring elsewhere. Bring my heart is one with the infinite sun, compassion